Okay, I'm on the USDebtClock.org website. So I just heard yesterday, on the 8th, that that we crossed $31 trillion. So of course it got my interest because I track this time to time, but just to hear that it crossed 31 trillion when I believe it's less than it was under 2 years ago that we crossed 30 trillion. So all of the spending, with these law bills and the money being sent to Ukraine, just it's going up a lot faster. Um, so if I go over here to this other tab, it says here, according to three sources, it hit the 31 trillion on October 5th. But then in here it says October 3rd. So either way, the past couple of days is it crossed that mark. So I'm seeing a lot of October 4th, October 5th. So yeah. So yeah, it's a scary number. I mean, we're never gonna pay that off, and if you look at the debt to GDP ratio, so right now it's at 125, pretty much 125.5%. But that's pretty much saying that, for what the U.S. produces every year annually, that we're producing less in value than what the actual debt is right now. So yeah, that's pretty scary to think about. But so what I also did, I'm gonna go to another tab up here. I went to U.S. debt by presidents. So I'm just gonna go back to Barack era. So 2009 to 2017. So when Barack was in office, it was at 11.9, roughly $12 trillion in debt. After 8 years, when he got out, we were at 20 trillion. And the debt change was 69%. So we went up $8.3 trillion in 8 years under Barack. All right, Trump gets in office in 17. We're at 20 trillion. 4 years, he leaves. We're at 27 trillion. So I'm gonna throw on, on there as far as under Trump. That's when COVID started, and the first stimulus bill was passed underneath him. Actually, I can't remember if we passed one or two underneath him. Actually, let me just Google it real quick just to be sure. Let's see if I can find any answers real quick. Okay, we had three. We had two. So we had two stimulus packages underneath Trump. So out of that 6.8 trillion, that's roughly $7 trillion. I forget how much those packages were, but I'm gonna say roughly maybe 3 trillion of that was accounted towards the 6.8. All right, so when Trump leaves office, 2000 and he left in 2021, but I guess you can say it's roughly 2016 from the election year to 2020. So anyway, when he leaves office, we're at 27 trillion. So it went up a little under 7 trillion in 4 years. So 27 trillion, and now we're going back to this one. Now we're at 31. So hell, I guess if you really want to say, well, it's kind of been less than 2 years for Biden, if you want to count when he was sworn in. But if you want to go from the election of 2020, which is almost 2 years, we've gone up $4 trillion in 2 years. Just spending. And this is not being biased or anything like that. I'm just looking at some numbers. So $4 trillion in 2 years. So Barack did 8 in 8 years. So it's almost like Biden's $2 trillion ahead. As far as debt goes. So I mean, you went up $4 trillion in 2 years. Barack did $4 trillion in 4 years. So yeah. So if anybody's ever been on his website or never been on it, it's a pretty interesting website. And it's really scary. It's fascinating, but it's scary at the same time. You think about it. Like, this number just doesn't stop. So this means just from earlier, a couple days ago, let's just say October 4th, which was 5 days ago. In 5 days, we gone up $130 billion. So that's our U.S. GDP right there. So when they're talking about that right there, the 125%. Now this is gonna go, I guess, until end of the year. But that number right there is underneath the debt number, and that's how we get back to that 125%. So anyway, here's the spending to GDP ratio, 38.15%. Total debt to GDP ratio, 139.62%. So if you go here, let's go back to let's just look at 1960. 52% back in the 60s. In the 80s, it went down 34%. By the year 2000, we're a little over half at 56%. And now within 22 years, we pretty much almost doubled that at 125%. So there's more to the website, but I'm not gonna go through all of the other information. But the main thing was just to show the national debt number, and that's pretty insane to think about. But also, while I'm saying that, having physical gold or silver, any kind of precious metal, is much, much better. If you have it, obviously you already know. But if you don't have it, you may want to get some, because all this number right here shows that it's just money just being printed. And I'd rather have something that can't be printed and has, intrinsic value, and stick with that. It's a much better option. So, yeah, this is just really bad, but you just gotta be mindful and be knowledgeable and use strategy.